Mr. Derek Veenhoff, who's better known as Deek.
Drinking liquor with DJ Deek, we out laughing.
Yo, Deek.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Deekast. I'm here. It's episode 84. We're with Frank Nitt, the legendary Frank Nitt of Franken Dank. What's going on, man?
What up, dog? What's going on with you, brother?
Chilling. So,
Word.
I wanted to ask you firstly about February 6th. We got DillaFest Digital. What can you tell us what that is and what that's all about?
DillaFest Digital is going to be an online celebration of Dilla's, life legacy, his birthday, and also it's the 20-year anniversary of Welcome to Detroit, which is one of his seminal solo records, and it's a great thing that I happen to be on it. Anyway, so it's Dilla month, and being that we're in the times we're in with COVID and the restrictions on people being able to gather and all these different things, wanted to search for a new way to, present something for the people that love Dilla and support him every Dilla month. You know what I'm saying? So DillaFest Digital was born. And, me and my partner over at Fusicology, Aja, peace, what up, Aja? We came up with this idea, and it's just, it's a mixture of everything. It's a little live music, DJs and whatnot, some vintage footage from different places and whatnot, as well as a ton of interviews about Dilla and his work and his work ethic. And, for me, I wanted to kind of cross all the things. So we talk about music, but it's also some things in there for producers and some technical speak. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's just a little bit of everything. It all encompasses Dilla, you know what I'm saying?
Is a lot of surprises, or can you name drop anybody we're going to be hearing from or seeing? Or
Oh yeah, I mean, we put out a list of folks, but obviously we got his mom and his brother Illa J, and then we got celebrities like Affion Crockett and Robert Glasper and Terrace Martin and hometown heroes and like Guilty Simpson and T3,
yeah.
Of course, and man, a lot more, just a lot more. It's a lot of interviews. So it's going to be very dope. And again, we got you're going to hear dope Dilla music all night. Man, like I said, great interviews, some classic vintage footage that, rarely seen stuff. I'll be hosting, of course. And man, it's going to be a great night. You get a little bit of history, a little bit about where he come from, how it started. So some crazy tidbits about him as a young man and him going towards being the guy we all end up knowing by the name of J Dilla. You know what I'm saying? So,
of course.
A great night, great experience, man.
That's awesome. So now, is this a free event, or do people got to buy tickets? Or
no, it's a free event. It's a free event. You'll be able to watch across different platforms. You know what I'm saying? So you ain't got to stick to one platform, but we'll have a general platform, and you can go to DillaFest.com or check out, DillaFest at IG and get updates. But you'll be able to go to DillaFest.com, and we'll have some exclusive merch. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be some giveaways. It's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot going on, man. It's gonna be a beautiful night.
It sounds awesome.
Man.
And maybe we can, that sounds like it's going to be a lot of cool stuff. Maybe we can preview some of those stories tonight. Of course, I want to get into the history of Franken Dank. It's too bad we couldn't get Dank Harvey on here tonight too, but maybe we'll have him on another episode.
We in two opposite sides of the world at this point almost.
True. He's in Toronto these days. Is that?
Yeah, he's in Toronto, way on the East Coast and in Canada, and I'm in LA on the West Coast in America. You know what I'm saying?
Didn't he connect with 40 over the from OVO? Does he have a connection?
OVO, yes, sir. That's Dank is a very personable person. You know what I'm saying? So you never know who Dank might know and be hanging out with. One time, he went hanging out, and it was like a few days later, we was at the studio or something, watching TV. And Ving Rhames came up on the TV. And he was like, "Oh, that's my man." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah, no, we was hanging out in the club, I said, well, Ving Rhames? He said, yeah, Ving Rhames, man, that's my guy. So Dank, you never know who Dank is going to be talking to, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, OVO is his man, OVO show a lot of support for Dank's son. Dank's son is an incredible basketball phenom.
I was going to mention his son, and he does music too, right? Yeah.
Well, no, that's the older son, Main Soul, is the music guy.
Oh, okay.
And then he has a younger son, Jermaine, who is the basketball guy.
Okay.
And Jermaine is a younger, 16-year-old into his fashion, and OVO show him a lot of love, get him a lot of the OVO gear and that type of stuff. And it's love, his pops is a personable, incredible person. So you never know who Dank gonna be talking to.
Yeah, he seems like a very intelligent guy. I know he does the Instagram lives a lot, and he'll just tell stories and kind of talk about the industry and different things. It just seems very insightful.
Yeah, man. Dank's lived an interesting life, man. Like he'll tell you in a minute, to come from where he come from and to be where he is a blessing for him. You understand? And so he lives that. He embodies that humbleness and that being grateful and just enjoying it. You feel what I'm saying?
Mm. So take us back. How did you meet Dank then and form Franken Dank? And maybe I'm sure that coincides with maybe meeting Dilla. I know you guys met when you were very young, right? Was it 12 or 13, something like that?
Yeah. I was 12. Dilla was 13, I think. Dank might have been 13 as well. But it was like 1986. They had already knew each other from elementary school. I moved into the neighborhood at the beginning of middle school, so 6th grade. So that's when we met. Franken Dank didn't come around till that was 86. Franken Dank came around maybe 94. You know what I'm saying? So, but Dank was already Dank. His whole nickname was President Dankworth. And it came from a record Dilla had in his collection, right? And we called him that because at the time he was the only person in the crew to smoke weed. So whenever he would come around, a whole bunch of weed smokers in the room are going to immediately smell pungent weed. You get what I'm saying?
Yep.
So we gave him the name President Dankworth. So Dank was Dank. They didn't come because of Franken Dank the group. And we both were kind of as youngsters, we all were dancers, right? And then I branched out to DJing because Dilla showed me how to DJ, and then me and him started DJing parties, and that's how we was getting our little high school money, DJing parties and things of that nature. So I was DJing. Dank was still dancing and messing around with rap a bit, and then Dilla was kind of doing everything, DJing, rapping, dancing, the whole shot, right? And the rest of us were still dancing as well, but it was like dancing and DJing for me. And Slum, Baten and T3, we all went to high school together. So in the lunchroom, Slum, me and Baten was the hands. We would beat on the tables and make beats for them to rap to. And they came and they had worked on the song the night before or something. And Baten and T3 did their verses. And then, on a whim, T3 was like, man, you should write a verse to this, Frank. Right? And that's how I started rapping. So I was dibbling and dabbling, rapping around. And then I got in a group, got out the group. And then I was kind of over Dilla's house working out. He was kind of helping me out, little challenges. Hey, Frank, I'm going to make a beat in 30 minutes. We got 30 minutes to write to it once it's done. Whatever we got to record. And that's how we sparred and, got sharp with the pen. And Dilla, Dank, on the other hand, was kind of more in the streets. He had a job, plus all of the other things that was going on, and just kind of just living the life. He was living that hood, coming up, trying to find a way out type of thing. And music was there, and it was his love and his passion, but he had to do other things to make sure survival was first. You get what I'm saying? So one day, again, T3 and Dilla, they always loved Dank's voice. And again, Dank would rap sometimes, but he wasn't really going to the studio a lot. Just before it was time for us to actually do the Franken Dank thing, he had started going more often. But when the initial kind of, hey man, y'all should be a group, man. Franken Dank, y'all should do a group. And it was T3 and Dilla, right? And they was like, yeah, y'all should do a group. This is like 94. And we'll help y'all. Don't even worry. We'll help y'all. So, me and Dilla had already been sparring in the studio anyway. helping me get better on my pen game. So him and T3 said, okay, we're gonna help y'all with song structure and just making sure y'all get, cadence and things of that nature correct. And of course, Dilla gonna make the beats. And let's just try this Franken Dank thing. And that's how it started. And we just put it out recently on the St. Louis album by Franken Dank. We just put out last year or year before, actually. Now it's 21. It's the first song we ever recorded in '95 in the studio that we took to the studio.
That's on the album.
It's called Young Buck. And it's the first song we ever did in the studio. Like we recorded it at home, but we took it to the main studio, got it mixed, and Dilla mixed it and all this. So this is 1995. And it was like the first Franken Dank joint.
She's just a young buck. She's a young buck.
Yeah,
that's the
that joint. Yeah, with T3 on the hook, right?
Oh shit! Wow, I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah, that's T3 on the hook because that was the formula. T3 was. He had a hook for us on that one. So yeah, put the hook there and we'll come with the bars. So so that's how Franken Dank kind of derived. We were all friends, we were all doing music things, and Dank was already Dank. But it was T3 and Dilla who said Franken Dank should be a group.
Well, so Dilla has music in his family background. Was it his dad played bass and he toured with the Globetrotters? Was it stuff like that? His mom, I believe, sang.
His mom is trained in opera singing.
Right.
His dad is a writer and musician. His dad actually wrote the song "It's a Shame." It's a shame. His dad wrote that.
Okay.
And his dad also has a jazz background as well.
Mm-hmm.
And even when Dilla was young, like in the house, like his dad had a doo-wop group and his mom. So he was listening to doo-wop in his living room. He'd be in the basement and they'll be doing doo-wop rehearsals upstairs in the living room. And then as well as church things. So yeah, super musical. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably one of those like nature nurture things where he had both. It was in his DNA in a sense, right? And then it's also like you're surrounded by it in your life. So, but what, this like the telephone game thing happens when we talk about Dilla here, like, oh, he was DJing when he was 2. But is that like accurate or is it, you know what I mean?
Listen, tune in to DillaFest.
Okay,
there was a story in DillaFest that you're going to hear that, oh my, it's about that type of thing. It's about that.
Well, then no spoilers. We can leave it for DillaFest.
Yeah, we'll leave it for DillaFest.
Skip over that one.
It's incredible though.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, you hear about this a lot, that Dilla's work ethic and, maybe you might call him a perfectionist, or you mentioned that he was, structuring things and telling people how they should approach things and whatnot. What do you attribute that to? Like his family background? Where does that come from? Is it just something that just appeared, just like his talent was just kind of out of nowhere and in him?
I don't think it was out of nowhere. It was obviously by his family, it's going to be fostered just because they kept him in church singing and doing different things anyway, musically, right? But Dilla was really, really smart, like gifted smart, right? But for lack of a better term, he was really stubborn too. So he was a guy, if he locked in on something, he would figure out how it worked, like internally, like not just the basic functions. I'm going to figure out how this thing ticks, and then I'm gonna make it tick to the beat I want it to, right? Yeah. And that's how he approached things. So you got to understand that he would pour over something until he got it. So he would be able to make these because he studied, but it might not be on everything. Like say cars, I don't care about that. But this music, I know all about this. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So here's an example. When we were, 14, 15 years old, 16, he was making beats, right? But he probably was more like 14, 15, 13, 14. And he didn't have a beat machine, right? So he was making beats on dual cassette decks, and he had 2 of them, right? And they call them pause and record because that's what you had to do. You had to pause this one, record, and just loop it over time over 4 different tapes to get your full beat, right? So he had these two upstairs. He had an upstairs attic in the house where he had his drum machines and music and stuff up there. So he went up there one day, and he had the tape deck, one of them, taken completely apart, right? But it was working. It was working. He was using it, and I'm like, "Yo, what happened to the thing?" He was like, "No, I was trying to figure out how I could slow the tape deck down." So he went and took the tape deck apart and found the idle screw for the cassette player, so he could get his sound. He could turn it up and speed up his samples and get his samples the way he wanted.
Right.
He could turn it down and get his samples slowed and warped out if he wanted. Like,
Damn.
he figured out how to change the tempo of a tape deck.
Yeah, that reminds you of like the 80s and early 90s, like a RZA, early Wu-Tang kind of stuff, or like different guys in the 80s. The DJs and the early guys were taking this stuff apart, and yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I say that to say that he could, whenever he felt as though it was needed, he could have laser focus.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that was part of his genius. That apply that to listening to a record for samples. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now he's nitpicking that record by the second, not by the bar, not by, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, he's really every other second he's listening to what's happening, and that's how he's going to find something weird or something different or something hidden way back there that he's going to pull forward for what he hears. You understand? So
right.
Yeah, that's I think that kind of explains, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, what's crazy about that to me too is that, okay, so he's so precise like that, but then at the same time, you'll hear from like Busta. We got the Diligence beats for that one mixtape. He said, "I got a CD of beats. It wasn't even mixed, nothing. It was all rough, and I just took it." Like, it's almost like did Dilla rework a beat a lot at all? It seems like he would just make him in 10 minutes, or would he?
No.
Work on it all night and kind of.
He made pause in 15 minutes, right? But say like the track on the Elzai track on Welcome to Detroit, there was like 4 or 5 different versions of that. Mm-hmm. Changing samples and just getting the right feel for it. So it all depends.
Right.
It all depends on what he doing and what he feeling at that point.
Yep.
But even those quick ones have a focus. If he made it quick, he already had what he was going to do in his brain, and it was just a matter of hitting the button and turning the knob. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. So what can you tell? You mentioned that, Dilla didn't have an MPC at one point. So what can you tell us about Amp Fiddler and meeting him and that whole story?
Well, you know what? Amp is going to be at DillaFest, so I'm going to just kind of...
There you go. We can skip that one too, then.
I'm going to let Amp... But no, Amp is pivotal. Like, he was the first real studio that we went to. You know what I'm saying? Where we went to consistently, and it had a decent setup, and he allowed, like, Amp... Because he had a house... He had, like, a sanctuary in the hood. You know what I'm saying? And it was a place that, producers, rappers, and different things that, he dealt with or allowed in the hood could come there, be safe, and make music. And then you had him there to help you, his brother Bub. You know what I'm saying? Like, so R.I.P. to Bub. It just, man.
And for people who don't know, he played with George Clinton, right? Is that right?
Yeah. He played with George Clinton, plus his own, illustrious solo career. And like, Amp's incredible, right? So, Amp is pivotal to what we did as youngsters. From, out of that slum family tree type of thing, all of us passed through those doors. You know what I'm saying? Well, the early us, the slum, the T3s, the Botins, the QDs, the Danks, the Franks, you know what I'm saying? Amp was that guy. He was the OG.
Shout out to Amp, and we'll get to hear more about that DillaFest then.
Yes, sir.
Now, when Dilla met Tip and when they did Amplified, I was always confused because I know roughly the story about the Ummah as far as Dilla and Tip, I guess, worked together on the beats, I'm assuming, but it was credited to the Ummah. Was the Ummah just Dilla, or was that?
No, it was Tip. It was Tip, Ali Shaheed, and Dilla.
Okay.
And then I think they added I want to say Raphael Sadiq, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm wrong. But they added a 4th person.
And what was that? Because of label issues, or why did they have to come up with a name, or just for fun?
Nah, I mean, it was, just a collective. They was all working together.
Right.
And it was just, it was a way to kill a lot of different birds under one name. Like Dilla, obviously, at the time was known for the hip hop, and you know what I'm saying? Hadn't really smacked everybody on the R&B side yet, you know, a la the Badu and different things, right? So okay, but they were working like, you know, Ali Shaheed was already doing R&B bangers outside of Uma and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was just kind of combining all those entities together and being able to make a bigger push.
Yeah, the amplified beats are next level. Like all of Dilla's beats are amazing, but like the amplified album itself, I don't know, that was just a really pivotal kind of album, at least from my point of view. That
Yeah, you
time
know,
period.
Amplified is incredible. It's an incredible record for me. Like,
I mean,
you
you'll
know,
still hear it in movie soundtracks and stuff like that these days. Like it's 20
yeah,
years, you know, going strong.
definitely so.
Can we jump to the album 48 Hours, the Franken Dank album? There's a lot of mystery and mystique around this album, and there's a little bit of history there where the album was done twice, basically, and it never officially released. Is that how it worked? But it's out these days.
It's officially out now.
Yeah.
Via Delicious Vinyl. To answer that question. Two versions, yes and no. There's a misconception.
The samples were changed to real instruments. Is that the?
Well, no. Only two of the beats where it was the sample was just changed, where he just did it. The rest of those beats were all done brand new from scratch by Dilla.
Okay.
There's a misconception that we turned the album in and they got turned down and then we went back and did it. That's not what happened.
That's bullshit? Oh, okay.
That's not what happened. What happened was we started working on the album. When we started working on the album, we got like 7 joints in over what you would consider a traditional sample-driven J Dilla beat, right? Dilla went, had a meeting somewhere, saw some different things, and it changed his perspective on what we was doing. He came to the studio and told us, look, I'm changing all the beats on the album, right? Y'all keep y'all vocals. The vocals gonna stay the same, but I'm gonna change all the beats, right? And I said, okay. And he said, just finish the record rapping over the beats you had already picked to rap over. Make the songs y'all wanted to make, but then I'm going to change them all, right? And then we had a huge convincing session for the 2 songs that stayed the same, which was the Mom joint, Ma Dukes, and Keep It Coming, the last 2 records on the album. Everything else was straight from his brain, and he just started over.
Wow.
So, but that wasn't, the label had never heard the other version because we did it halfway through the record.
Right.
So there was no ever a turn in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
and the thing that you said that changed his mind, was it a session with Dre or something like that? Or
he had went to a session. It was a D12 session, but Dre was in the D working on D12's album, and he saw what he saw, and it just I mean, he saw that how Dre worked. He saw that, you know, Dre got his MPC, and you know, but he got musicians here, and you know what I'm saying, like, and he got 5 MPCs set up to get this sound from this guy and this, that, you know. So he was like, hey, well, if he can switch it up, I'm switching it up, whatever, right? I can do all of it, right? So he switched it up, and then we turned that record in, and the label said, okay, bet, we love this album, but we need something more commercial.
Classic,
add to it.
Classic label statement.
And that's where Take Your Clothes Off came from.
Love that joint.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
made
commercial.
it.
Come on, for then, 2003, that's fine.
No, we made. You see, people have this misconception that they turned the record down.
Yeah.
No, they approved the record, and we went to do the photo shoot and got it mastered and the whole thing. But then the lady who was there quit, and she went over to Capitol and she signed Chingy.
Come on, Chingy.
And then the label started to fold. 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And then guess what? all of a sudden, everything dried up. Everybody was getting dropped. Like when we were still up and in our doing our shit, it was people from the label, artists coming like, yo, our budget's messed up. Everything is messed up because the label's shutting down. We didn't know when we signed the deal that the label was about to shut down. So there's this huge misconception. No, we didn't get I negotiated our release from MCA. I called MCA for like 6 months straight every day until I got to the president of the label. And he was trying to A&R Commons record and moving artists from MCA to Geffen. And he had Mary J. Blige and Snoop Dogg and all these major artists. And then Franken Dank way down here on, you know what I'm saying, on the totem pole. And we got out of that deal and we own 48 Hours. So there's a huge misconception about what happened.
Yeah.
People have it twisted, but you know, that's how it goes. People are always going to have things twisted and have their own look. And I can't be chasing people around trying to make
that's
their
true.
opinion.
I think even the wiki page says that too. Maybe we can change it.
But you know that you can go and change it. You know what I'm saying? Now
you just say Frank told me to change it, and
now you know the real story. So go change. You can go change it because that's some fan put it up there. You know what I'm saying? Or somebody else. I didn't put Dank ain't put it up there. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like, yeah, that type of that. There's a huge misconception about that record. That's fine.
So with the time that record was actually then you guys were working on that in the late 90s then?
No, 2001.
Oh, 2000. Okay.
We were in a deal with MCA for 3 years. We got signed in 2000. In 2001, because we had worked on the album from the end of the year, our deal was finalized and we got our checks from MCA doing Winter Music Conference in 2001. Right? So that's January January 2001. We worked on our album all the way up until the summer or something like that. And then all the MCA things started folding.
Yeah.
Right? Then it was months of nothing. And then the lady quit. They hired somebody else. And that person said, okay, let's do the photo shoot. So the December after September 11th, we flew to New York. We were in New York. There's pictures of that just came out not too long ago. Dilla got on a mink. And we sitting behind him with 2 girls on our laps. That's the photo shoot from December 2001.
Okay.
MCA. And MCA paid for that. We mastered our album that weekend. All of that. So we were going. But then the dude who was there got fired. And then there was 3 more people that took his place in the preceding months. So, and then from there, like, you know, what are we going to do? We was the bottom of the totem pole in comparison to the major platinum artists they already had. True. So yeah, no, we did the right thing. We got out of the deal. We got the paperwork to say, okay, y'all can get out and y'all can have this album back.
True. Well, that sounds like a mishmash of just a quagmire of crazy issues at the time.
Yeah. It was the perfect storm for bullshit, realistically.
So taking it a little further back, so when Dilla first started making beats, like, was there a moment where maybe you heard something where you noticed, like, holy shit, like what this guy's making is something really special, or was it just from the get go?
It was from the get go. And like I would assume that he didn't let a person hear anything until he was ready or he thought it was ready. You understand? Right. So before I ever heard anything, he probably was, you know, perfecting as much as he could at that point. And then, okay, hey man, check this out. So I don't remember a time when he wasn't ahead of the curve for where he was supposed to be.
And what about more internationally in the Soulquarians and the other artists that he would eventually branch out to? Initially, the beats were for Slum Village. Is that the first, or Slum Village? Is that the earliest Dilla productions, or Far Side?
Well, no, Slum was probably the first. I mean, First Down, the joint thing he did with Fat Cat.
Right, that him and Fat Cat were on an actual group together that was signed.
Yeah, they did a single deal for that situation. I think it was. Maybe it was an album deal, something like that. But so First Down was probably, I mean, kind of the first Dilla things, but I don't know that like that everybody would know immediately. I think Far Side was the big kickoff, but you had the Mad Skills record. You know, this is outside of Detroit, outside of the crew.
Mm-hmm.
You had the Mad Skills record first, and then Farside and I think Tribe came after that.
So was that the point where everyone just obviously heard the music and they're like, "Okay, I want a Dilla beat" kind of thing? You know, it was just a grapevine situation. Yeah, everybody just started, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and I will say this: Tip was championing him in the industry, like playing his music for other industry heavyweights. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because he was so like, yo, this kid is incredible. Listen, you know what I'm saying? So, between those records and then industry guys talking about him, it created a buzz. You know what I mean?
Yep. So, and then, so what about, I was going to ask you, you know, the situation after he passed and with his estate and his mother and trying to deal with the obviously all his assets or whatever, his music and his catalog. Has those things smoothed out over the years a little bit, or is there still issues that need to be resolved?
That's not really my place to speak on. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not, you know, whether I know or not is neither here nor there. I'll just say that his estate is in a healthy, comfortable place right now. And his mama's able to do business proper and his family is taken care of. So beyond that, you know, it's not really for me to speak on. You know what I'm saying? It's with things of great magnitude, there's always going to be issues. I don't care who it is, what it is, whatever. There's always going to be some type of issue. And people can speculate one side or the other. You feel what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's not for me to speak on.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just it's nice for people to know, because there are some pieces of news that have come out over the years that say, okay, you know, things are a little better. That at first the information that was out just seemed like, dang, you know, they're having a hard time to actually smooth this stuff out. They've mentioned you know, when he was sick and that you're not always thinking of the documents you need to sign and that kind of thing. You're more worried about the health of the individual at the time, you know.
Yeah, a lot of people, you know, they speak on things without knowing the whole picture. And that's understandable because it ain't for everybody to see the whole picture. So, but, you know, you can't, this is entertainment, man. Like these people, you know, have emotions about things that they probably shouldn't have emotions about. And, you know, when you speak emotionally, you say things. You understand? And so a lot of that is conjecture. People can think what they want. People can feel, but the problem is in the world we live in, you can have an opinion and say that as fact. You understand? And I think a lot of that was a lot of opinion being taken as fact. So, but again, let me reiterate: his estate is healthy, in a good place right now. And
that's good.
That's probably what everybody should focus on.
True. No, that's good. And I mean, we're still hearing music that's important too. Up to this day, you know, there's still Dilla albums that are, you know, compilations.
You've never seen that stop.
Right, 100%.
Regardless of what you heard was going on, it's that man's legacy can't stop though.
Yeah, and that's another thing that makes you think, like, okay, like how much music did this guy have that there's so many albums that are continuing, and I probably expect more. I mean, you know, we know he's prolific in that, but did he really just have like thousands of unfinished beats?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like a Prince, like a guy that just has a vault full of, like I always heard Prince has like 80 albums that he never dropped.
I sat and sorted the box, the vault with his mama and his team. So yeah, it's real deal.
And now, did he always have his stuff on an MPC, or did he at some point like move to a digital audio? You know, did he work on any Fruity Loops?
No, he didn't. I mean, you know, he used, I think, Pro Tools.
Yeah,
but I don't think he used that to dump. Everything he did was, you know, in his MPC and on his keyboards and or his sample or his record player.
And you mentioned the song Ma Dukes from 48 Hours. I think in another interview you mentioned that that was actually Dilla playing on a mandolin for that.
Yeah.
So how often did he do that? How often did he, you know, pick up an instrument and actually lay it down himself?
I mean, it was necessity whenever he needed to.
True.
Whenever he needed to. Like Welcome to Detroit, Think Twice. He played those drums, but he played each part one at a time. He played the kick first, snare, hi-hat. You know what I'm saying? Like he did it all in pieces to get the feel that he wanted. Because he wasn't, he ain't a drummer like that. Not that he couldn't play the drums, but for what he was trying to get to, in his mind, it was better to break it down into pieces. You get what I'm saying? So no, it was a necessity thing.
Yeah, whenever it was needed, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. He and then he had perfect pitch. You know what I'm saying? I think everything in his life was in perfect key, including what he's seen, not just what he hear. You know what I'm saying? Like everything. So so he, he could just thumb through whatever. Like if he needed to play a key line or something, he'll just figure it out. It just, I don't know. He was just crazy with that. Just whether it be a bass, a horn, whatever, he'll figure it out.
So we know that eventually he, would collab with Madlib on the J-Lib album and stuff like that. Other than say Madlib, was there a need for him to want to collaborate specifically with producers, or did he like to kind of have control mostly of his beats? Was he ever excited by that about collabing, or was it more like just shut the door, let me do my beat and kind of thing?
No, I think he was a fan of other producers and other things. You get what I'm saying?
Like Pete Rock and those kind of guys.
Oh well, Pete Rock is his guy, but Knots and Large Pro and obviously Q-Tip and High Tech and like he gave kudos to these guys. You know what I'm saying? Like he thought highly of these guys. Marley Marl, like, so he was a fan. So it wasn't about like his thing. Dilla he wasn't a person, let me be like this person. It's like, ooh, he's dope. Now I'm motivated to go be dope in my way over here. You understand?
Yeah.
And so it was never, I don't think it was, he never thought like, ooh, like, because I put it to you this way, 48 Hours wasn't supposed to be a whole Dilla album.
Oh.
We all sat down and had a list of producers. We had intentions on going after Pharrell and Dilla was going to do a few, but we was going after other producers. We wanted the Rock Wilder beat and all types of stuff. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but it was management and label that said, hey, well, maybe you need, y'all need to focus on him doing this and keep it all in house. And for us, cool. Ain't like the beat's gonna suffer because of it, so whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So man, like he was very open to other producers and enjoying other people's art.
Yeah. Speaking of, again, the 48 Hours album, you guys talked about too, the sound of the beats was somewhat influenced by you guys end up in the strip club, stuff like that, and sort of the vibe and that kind of have, like, just to mention, like, we talk about how old the album is at this point, but when I DJ sometimes these days for younger crowds and that, I'll play some of those beats in the middle of some new industry beats, and it's smooth transition. Like the younger people might not know what they're listening to, some of them, but
but it doesn't stop the flow. Yeah,
it's a club vibe. A lot of those songs, and maybe not a couple of them, but how would you describe that? Like, how did that strip club influence come through in the beats?
It was life for us. It was part of our daily routine type of thing. You know what I'm saying? We didn't just go to strip club at the heat of the night, and throw dollars. We would go there at lunch and have, wings and fries and a Coke. You know what I'm saying? And just get lunch. So it was part because, our strip club was like local. We knew the people who owned it. It was a very comfortable situation for us. And it wasn't just about the naked girls. That was cool, but it was more about the camaraderie and just a place where you can be comfortable and have fun and some naked girls. Like, you can't beat that. You know what I'm saying? So like, it was more like a business, the place of business for us, because, it's either the studio or you got to go somewhere to do the other things. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
a lot of people went to the strip club with us, and not for the strippers, just because that's what we did,
Well, yeah, and those lyrics and stuff too that you and Dank got going on in some of those tracks is like it's just straight up. It's a lot of humor, right? It's just vibes and humor
Yeah, yeah,
and having
it's
fun
vibes
and
and fun. We were young, 24, 25-year-old dudes. Just got a record deal.
snapping.
Everybody got cars with wheels and got gold and jewelry on, and we feeling
Yeah,
good. There's money around. Like that's what it was, man. So like it's very real. Somebody's coming in right now, so you might hear a little other noise. But it was very real. That record was real, bro. It's not. It's not. It's not a. It wasn't a situation where we had to create a persona. That persona was already there. We were
Franken
already
Dank.
living it.
It was just Franken
That's
Dank.
it was already Franken Dank. And I'm saying you got to look at the songs like Keep It Coming and the Ma Duke songs is real. On top of all of the strip clubs, girls, and this, that, and the
Yeah, like
party
all
and
the
all
lyrics
that.
are not just that, but yes, you have these other
Yeah, we
in there
have
as
these other
well.
songs, so
Yeah,
we crossed the spectrum. You understand?
100%.
Because that was real life for us.
Well, it's a classic album, still played to this day. Of course,
Appreciate
it's
that.
got this
Appreciate
legacy,
that.
this history, this mystery. But we cracked some of the code today. I'm sure we're going to hear more at DillaFest.
Yes, you
Um,
will.
what about you personally? Any you a fan of any certain new artists, whether it's Detroit or say Toronto scene? Any new stuff that you listen to these days?
Um, Not like honestly, I've been kind of sheltered from it.
Yeah,
Just because like as an artist, I'm kind of transitioning out of just the rapper guy. Obviously, picked up the beats and doing the production, but I was producing for years before that. But what I'm saying is that I'm kind of putting it out there at that point. So, but that is just kind of a stop along the way. Like now, I do more like behind the scenes executive things. You know what I'm saying? Like uh, putting out records for artists. You know, putting together tours and doing events such as DillaFest because again I'm hosting but I'm also producing the show. You get what I'm saying? Like
hmm
so I just haven't been too how do we say eyes open. I mean I see, don't get me wrong, I know what's going on. But
yeah. But it's not like
I
a high
haven't
school DJ parties where you got to know what tracks to play and all that. And that.
yeah, and all this that third. And also I don't really put forth the time. I see what y'all got going on, but I don't, other times when I was younger, you listen to an artist and kind of dig into it.
Yeah,
And I don't have much time to do that anymore.
that's true. When
You know what I'm
when you got
saying? So,
multiple streams of things going on too, yeah, there's not enough time to do everything.
yeah. So it's not that I don't see the new artists, and it's a few dope things
Yeah,
out
well,
here.
you got
Like
to be excited at least just for Detroit in general because these days, I mean, obviously Detroit is taking
I
over a lot
mean,
of the waves.
Detroit's doing a lot, doing it. I mean,
Oh yeah,
Grammy nomination, shout out Royce, and you know what I'm saying.
yeah,
The young boys, Grizzly and Sada Baby, and it's Detroit has a warm palette of music right now from all over the place, from
yeah. It's busy.
from the OGs to the youngsters.
hmm
So it's good.
So project wise or anything, what can we expect next from Frank Nitt? Is no spoiler alerts, but is there anything that people should know about that's coming up next?
Oh, I don't even know if I want to tell you. I'm finishing a situation right now that's music and another piece of something to go with the music.
Very
Right?
cool.
And I'll just say this, that other than the features, other than the people that's on the music, no other hand touched anything about this project. If that
Intriguing.
makes any sense. Huh?
It sounds
Yeah,
intriguing.
no, yeah, if that makes sense, no other hand other than the featured artists, no other hand touched this project as a whole, including the other component.
So it's one
So
hand. You did it with one hand. One of
I did
Frank's
one.
hands.
It's Frank. It's Frank's hands. Frank rubbed his hand across it,
Cool. Well,
and
Frank.
that's it.
So DillaFest coming up. People can check that out. That's February 6th.
February 6th, DillaFest.com. You get all the information. Get at us on IG at DillaFest. And go down to deliciousvinyl.com and get your exclusive J Dilla merch. That's up there as well. And support the James DeWitt Yancey Foundation. All these things I'm a part of.
For sure. And if they want to follow Frank Nitt, it's just Frank Nitt on Twitter and Instagram, right?
Twitter, Instagram, yep, at Frank Nitt.
Cool, man. Well, hey, thanks again for the time. It's been cool to dig into some of the history with you. All the best, and we'll see you at DillaFest, man.
Appreciate you, brother.
All right. Take care, eh?
Hey.
Later.